Well, Razorback fans, this game against Ole Miss needs to be personal. Not just personal for Razorback fans, not just personal for players or former players, but it needs to be personal for Sam Pittman. So let's talk about it on today's Locked On Razorbacks podcast.
You are Locked On Razorbacks, your daily podcast on the Arkansas Razorbacks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. I am your host, John Neighbors. I am also the host of Inside Arkansas Live, which you can catch every weekday starting at noon on Inside Arkansas and InsideArkansas.com. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season is around the corner. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your future bets now. Hope everybody's having a wonderful, wonderful Tuesday, as we'll talk a little bit about something I don't want to talk about, but we have to because Sarah Huckabee Sanders, the governor, is talking about Arkansas and Arkansas State playing each other annually. We'll get into that as well as the latest for Arkansas, Memphis, and kick time and why it's actually not as big of a deal as maybe some make it out to be. But either way, I wanted to start today with Sam Pittman. We had a chance to hear from him yesterday and him previewing Ole Miss. I know he'll do his catfish hole show, I guess on Wednesday night. That's when that'll go down. He'll have the SEC teleconference as well. But as far as all the other things that are going on, it's pretty much it. I mean, it's going to be handled by him. And as far as any updates on injury reports or anything like that, but this is the ultimate test. Arkansas and Ole Miss. It's a game that I honestly didn't predict Arkansas would win before the season started. And where it's at right now, I'm not saying that Arkansas is going to lose or Arkansas is going to win for sure, but I'm also not saying they're going to lose for sure. In fact, just basing it on what we know, I feel better about it now because of how Arkansas's played and also how Ole Miss has played than what I did a week ago, 2 weeks ago. And again, that's not saying that Arkansas is going to win this game easily and they're just going to walk away with it, but I certainly don't see it as much of a hill to climb like it may have been in previous weeks. But this is an interesting game for all the historical reasons. Arkansas and Ole Miss going back at it. Some of the craziest games that have happened, not only in some of their own history, but in SEC history have been taking place with these two teams. We could go through the whole list. But one game that I think a lot of Razorback fans, if not all Razorback fans, want to forget, as well as Sam Pittman, was the game a year ago. That game in Fayetteville was awful, to put it mildly. Ole Miss set every single record known to man offensively against Arkansas on their home turf. Arkansas got outscored like crazy. Ole Miss made Arkansas look like a junior high team. They didn't take the foot off the gas, and I'm not sitting here talking about running up the score. No, they didn't run up the score. They just they did what they were supposed to do. You needed style points, especially when you're trying to get to the playoff. Didn't matter because it didn't end up going that way. But Ole Miss was a team that was trying to get to that point. And, it's crazy. Ole Miss lost 3 games last season, and all 3 of them were by 1 possession. They beat Georgia pretty handily. Like, they were a good team. But this year, I don't see that being the case necessarily as far as how good they are. But even taking that into consideration, we all know about the situation with Patrick Kudus, Luke Hasz, Jalen Braxton. Those players that played for Arkansas last year, started for Arkansas last year, and went on to Ole Miss. Now, I'm not hating on any player. Like, I don't like doing that. But it came down to money. Plain and simple. And we can be honest about that. It's not to say that they're bad people or they're bad kids. They got more money. Ole Miss offered them more money, so they took it. And there's some fans that it rubs the wrong way, which I get, because in the modern day of college football, you don't like any players, especially ones that were starters for you, going to your rival school and going in the fashion that they did. And the only thing that would really kind of and continues to rub me the wrong way was the Patrick Kudus situation, because as Sam Pittman put last year, Kudus was dealing with an injury, and he's like, "Hey, I'm not going to redshirt you though, just for you to go play somewhere else." And Patrick Kudus reportedly told Pittman, "No, I'm not going to do that to you, coach." And then he ended up doing it. And then on top of that, Patrick Kudus also talked about when he was doing the Boss Hog podcast on what used to be Natty State Sports with us. Enjoyed those times. But he mentioned how he just grew up not liking Ole Miss. Well, he's at Ole Miss. So just a little bit of a weirdness there. But the point is that you got some storylines to go along with it. It's ultimately about Sam Pittman, though. Sam Pittman, how does he view this game? Does he feel like there's revenge? Does he feel like there's motivation to take it personally? Well, Sam Pittman was asked that question yesterday in a press conference. Here's what he had to say.
Yeah, I think there's always, so you prepare your team. If your team, we have a good enough team, and we do. And if we play well, we can play with anybody on our schedule. And I may be the only guy that believes that, but I believe it with all. Well, no, I'm not. I got 115 that believe that as well. But, Trey, there's got to be, each game has different motivational factors behind it. They all do. Last week was for the state. You know, it was a state championship to some aspect of a state championship game. So you find different things that have extra motivation. We should have enough to motivate ourselves, but something. And so certainly the way we got beat last year in that game, it has to have some motivation. The problem with that is a bunch of our kids that are playing on our team weren't here for it. Now, it should motivate the guys that were embarrassed because it was an embarrassing night. Certainly there are things there that we'll talk about after. We certainly need a great week of practice to prepare ourselves, but that may be part of the motivation.
That was Sam Pittman speaking to the media yesterday. Now, most of you will hear that answer and not think twice. You'll think it's just a coach's answer of Sam Pittman. Hey, you got to be motivated by everything, which is true. I mean, there shouldn't be any added motivation to go out and win. That's the old cliche, but it always helps. Let's be honest. There's certain games that mean more, and this could be one of them. And in fact, I think it is one of them. Because listen, I've been listening to Sam Pittman press conferences and him being asked questions for 6 years now. I've listened to every single one of them, watched every single one of them. I've even had the opportunity to interview him on occasion. That right there tells me that he is more motivated about this because of those players leaving than anything. He didn't say it, but you could tell this means something more to him based on last year, because he talked about the embarrassing performance, but also based on the players that left him. And I'm not going to speak for all the situations there, because again, I don't know all the circumstances, but I think the Patrick Kudus thing really upset Sam. I think that's my theory, because he's an offensive lineman. He told him straight to his face, "Hey, I'm not leaving. I'm going to stay here. I'm a hog, blah, blah, blah." And then he ended up not going and staying and becoming a hog and staying as a hog. I think that upset him, because that goes against everything that Sam Pittman has ever stood for, which I get. In the latest NIL age of everything, you can't handle yourself that way. You can't take it so personally. But Sam Pittman, he's been a guy that's built on relationships. That's what's made him very successful as a recruiter. Does that work as much nowadays? Probably not. But that's who he is. And for this to be asked, and for that answer to happen, folks, knowing Sam Pittman, normally, if he was ever asked it's just, it's a big game. It's the SEC. We got to play well. We're motivated for every game. He'd say something like that as far as no personal, but he didn't do that. He answered it in a way of each game has its own source of motivation. He talked about the embarrassment last year, which I think impacted him for sure, no doubt. But he doesn't take it personally on Lane Kiffin, not in the slightest. It's just part of it. I think the fact that you have Ole Miss over there doing what they've done, success, and then they come in and they take 3 of your starters, whether you agree with it or not, whether it was right or right, whatever it is, that has to hurt. And this is another reckless assumption theory that I have about Sam Pittman in this thing. there has to be a little bit of envy on Sam Pittman's part. And it's justified. He probably looks over at Ole Miss and says, hey, well, Ole Miss and Arkansas, they're historically, financially, all these things and supports, it's very similar, but Arkansas should be right there with them, not a little bit above. But you're light years behind. And one of the reasons why you're light years behind is because of the very reason why those players left you. Because you did not have the support and the money that you needed or desired to keep a team together, so they went elsewhere. And I think there's an envy to that. Pittman probably looks at it, he's like, well, why can they do it? Why can they have that support? Why can they have that money? Why can they pay those players that were on my team last year, and we can't? There's got to be at least a little bit of fire because of that. And I think Sam Pittman's showcasing that. And I'm not speaking for him. This is just my theory and based on what I've heard and what I see. But I can tell you this, if I was Sam Pittman, I'd be pissed. I'd be ready. Sam Pittman's not a guy that makes enemies. But you can make the argument that this game against Ole Miss, in his 5+ years as the head coach of Arkansas, might be the game that he wants to win the most. To showcase those kids that left him, showcase that school that has more money than him and everything, showcase that, hey, you did that, that's fine. But there's some things more to life or to football than money. I really hope a motivated Sam Pittman ends up being the best version of Sam Pittman. Guess we'll find out this week. Also, what we found out is that apparently the politics are rearing its ugly head into this Arkansas State debate. So we'll get into that. Stay with us here on the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. All right, Razorback fans, it's time to fuel up and turn it up with 5 Hour Energy Transfusion. This grape, ginger, and lime flavored shot brings the iconic taste of a golf course favorite to a non-alcoholic boost. Perfect for sinking birdies and making great memories with friends, it's a hole-in-one for your energy game. Whether you're out on the course or just need a little extra to push you and power you through the day, 5 Hour Energy Transfusion delivers the clubhouse flavor that you love without ever leaving the green. You know, if you've ever made one of those wild shots, was it a hole-in-one? Was it a total fluke or a well-calculated miracle? Well, I can tell you this. You're always going to be on your A game and always going to be hitting your best shots and being at your best when you have 5 Hour Energy. Golf is all about good times with good people, right? It's also about good flavors. The grape, ginger, lime flavor of 5 Hour Energy Transfusion gives you the best parts of your clubhouse go-to without leaving the course and chasing down the bev cart. Now you can amp up the fun even more. Just buy, snap, and enter for a chance to win a dream golf trip for 2 to any golf tournament in the USA. Tee up that trip. Visit 5hewin.com for rules and entry. No purchase necessary. Excludes the Masters tournament. Ends October 31st of 2025. Well, also brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. The NFL season is officially here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets across the apps. It's a great place to be, and it's a great place to start getting all of your bets in, especially when it comes to the NFL season, college football season, and all of those great things. So if you're ready to play, be sure to download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. All right, so moving on into the next segment of the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. I know that this is going to be something that gets talked about in the comments. People probably want to move on or people just want to debate it. Whatever it is, I get it. I totally get it. But here we go. The Arkansas State game. I was so happy to get over this and just move on. I was so happy to just say, hey, all right, it's been played. Arkansas wrecked them. Let's just move on. But I knew in the back of my head, I was like, no, there's going to be something. There's going to be something that happens. There's going to be something that draws it out a little bit more. Well, sure enough, the governor of the great state of Arkansas, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, put out a statement and also released and sent a letter to both Arkansas and Arkansas State Board of Trustees. Now, I am not here to get political, folks, as far as anything else other than this particular topic, okay? So save all that. If you like her, if you don't like her, I don't care. We're talking about this particular topic right here. That's it, okay? Okay. But she sent out a statement, and she sent a letter to both Board of Trustees urging both schools to play Arkansas and Arkansas State in football annually at War Memorial Stadium because of this past weekend's atmosphere. There's a lot of politic language, but it simply says, as governor and a native of Little Rock and a lifelong football fan, I am calling on you to make the historic matchup an annual event at War Memorial Stadium in the heart of our state. Generations of Arkansans have come to the stadium to cheer for their teams and witness some of the greatest moments in Arkansas sports history, but never before for a game like this. Now it's time to change that. Folks, let me be very, very clear about this. It's not happening. It's not happening. This is a political game, and I don't blame Sarah Huckabee Sanders for putting out this statement and sending this letter. I don't blame her for it. I have no issue with her because it's politics. She's trying to get elected. It's her duty. It's her job to, of course, serve this great people of Arkansas, but also to get elected again and stay as governor. And this is a easy win to just put it out there. She has to know that it's not happening, but that's why I feel like she worded it in the way of urging you. So then when it doesn't happen, she can just be like, oh, well, I tried. I would have liked it. I tried to have everybody happy and making all that. It's just not going to happen. This weekend was great. I'm not taking that away from anybody or anything from Little Rock, from War Memorial Stadium, from any of that stuff. It was great. It was a great time. And I think that a lot of praise should be given to War Memorial and to Little Rock and to the fans and to everything. But let's be very clear about this, folks. Just because it was that way this past Saturday doesn't mean that it's going to be that way each and every year. I think the newness of this one particular game, first time it's ever happened, made people a little bit more eager to go. I think the idea, especially from hearing from people like me on this podcast, where I've told people that this is the last game that's going to be in War Memorial for the foreseeable future. I think people took that as a heart of saying, hey, this is probably going to be the last time. And so they made an event out of it. The weather really helped. Again, not making excuses. I'm just saying, I think that's what led a lot to the game. And this is not a game that needs to be an annual thing. I had quite a few people that were telling me this game, they should just make it happen and make it be the game at the end of the year on the Thanksgiving weekend with Arkansas and Arkansas State. And I'm like, you're out of your mind. You're out of your mind. No one should want that. You want to play Arkansas State, fine. I'm going to argue with you why it's dumb if you're a Razorback fan. But to try to play them like in the rivalry weekend, you want to have a rivalry with a Sun Belt team? You want that to be your big game? Really? Listen, man, we can make fun of enough as it is. This ain't no Clemson, South Carolina. This ain't no Florida State. This ain't any of those things. They're a Sun Belt team. No disrespect to them, but you are, last time I checked, an SEC team. You shouldn't want to play this game. It's one thing if you think it's cool and neat on occasion, but the desire to play this, and especially to play it annually, get out of town. You lost your mind? Not to mention to the fact that it's not going to happen. I'm not saying Arkansas will never play Arkansas State again, but it's not going to be an annual thing, and it's surely not going to be in Little Rock. Once again, the SEC informed Arkansas to stop playing games at War Memorial Stadium. They're letting them go out throughout their contract, but they informed them, hey, stop doing this. And when I brought that up, someone was like, well, the governor, I think they have a little bit more power. Nope. No, they sure don't. Listen, I think Sarah Huckabee Sanders, she's got power. She's a governor, but she ain't got more power than the SEC. And I'm not saying it would ever come to this point, but say if she really wanted to fight it and said she was demanding it and like calling out the SEC, you know what the SEC would do? Very simply, like one trick thing. Hey, Arkansas, if you actually do this, you're out of the SEC. Is that what you want? Then you can go join Arkansas State in the Sun Belt. You can play each other every year. Point is, it's not happening. This was the last game in the foreseeable future in Little Rock. And again, I'm not saying you will never play Arkansas State again, but it won't happen consistently annually, and it shouldn't because there is zero reason or benefit to you. Keeps the money in the state. Who cares? If you're the Razorback Athletic Department, why do you care if the money stays in the state? Why would you want to give any sort of benefit to any other school in your state? It's different when it's UALR or UAPB because that's a system school. But why in the world would you want to give money and help provide support for another school in your state? You can say it's mean. You can say it's rude. It's business. It's business. Hopefully we're done talking about this. What we're not done talking about here on the podcast is about the Arkansas-Memphis games at the game time. It's 11 a.m. Actually, it's not that big of a deal. I'm going to tell you why. So stay with us here on Locked On Razorbacks podcast. All right, Razorback fans, college football is back. And I know none of us could be more excited to actually have games upon games upon games. The tailgates, the rivalries, the energy in the stands, there's nothing like it. But let's be real. Actually, getting tickets can feel more like a battle than the game itself. Endless queues, hidden fees, prices jumping at checkout, all of that stuff. That's why I use the Game Time app. It's the app that gives the advantage back to the fans. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices, and it has no surprise fees. What you see is what you pay. Anytime that I've ever pulled up the Game Time app, it's just a couple taps away. Boom, I see all the amazing deals. I'm talking about your favorite college football games. Some of the games that's going on already for Arkansas this scheduled this year as low as $25. It's really simple. It's really easy to see your seats, especially with the panoramic views, and you're going to get the best deals guaranteed. It's faster, it's cheaper, and less stressful than any way that you'll ever buy tickets. So take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. All right, so final segment here on the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. So, not that it's a huge deal, but we have been waiting to see what time that Arkansas-Memphis game at the Liberty Bowl was going to be. It was one of the only games that it wasn't given a flex time. It wasn't given anything other than just the game's happening, shut up and wait until the time gets announced. Well, it got announced. Arkansas will be playing Memphis at 11 a.m. That's right, 11 a.m. Fun times, right? You know, 11 a.m. games, I've said this before, it's not the worst thing when you're on the road. 11 a.m. games really only suck the most when you're at home. Honestly, I would love nothing more than Arkansas to play every road SEC game at 11 a.m. And we have one of those this year. That's LSU. But I would be all about it. I would be all about it. But again, that's not the case. But here's the deal, is that with these 11 a.m. games, I know they value because of the time, and it's going to be on ABC or ESPN or ESPN2. I just don't like it maybe for the people traveling, because some people I know would probably prefer to drive from, say, Little Rock to the game and hang out and go to Rendezvous for barbecue and then tailgate a little bit, then have the game that night. But instead, they're going to have to mix up their plans a little bit, get there extra early, and maybe do some tailgating, maybe do some stuff afterwards. The point is this. I don't see it as a big deal when it's not in Fayetteville. It's only in Fayetteville when it happens. But right now, you have guaranteed this game at 11 a.m. against Memphis. Notre Dame is 11 a.m. Auburn is 11 a.m. You also have the LSU game at 11 a.m. Those are the only 11 a.m. games the rest of the year. Just four. Just a third of your games at 11 a.m. And 2 of them are at home. 2 of them are on the road. But isn't it crazy? You don't get the 11 a.m. games for Arkansas State or Alabama A&M. Nah. Or even Mississippi State. Nope. It's this one and this one and this one, the good ones. But again, it goes back to show you folks, it's about television. That's all it's about. It's about TV. That's what people value. We just have to accept it. It sucks, but we have to accept it. Appreciate each and every one of you listening in and watching into the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe to the podcast on iTunes or on Google Play. You can also get after me on Twitter at John Neighbors Show for any questions, comments, concerns that you may have. Keep it going from there. Same podcast time, same podcast channel tomorrow afternoon. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you then.